right, welcome everybody. We are so glad you're all here. Before we get started, we just have a few recognitions that we wanted to make. First, our innovation partners are those who invest in the mission of the Chamber and allow us to do our work in small business development, entrepreneurship, talent development, and legislative advocacy. We're extremely grateful for their support throughout the year. We also have a set of media partners that help us share the great stories that are coming out of our region, all the programs that we have, and even more importantly, what our members are doing as we move through recovery. So we're super grateful for them as well. This is our Chamber team. We are here to serve you and we're excited to do so. So please reach out and let us know if there's anything we can do to support you in your businesses. We'd love to hear from you. Our email addresses are listed here as well as on the website. Here are some upcoming events that we have. Next Tuesday, we have our virtual business at breakfast, women in state government. We have an awesome panel lineup. And then we have morning brew on the 20th from 8 to 9. That will be virtual as well. We hope to get back to in person at some point this summer. So keep an eye out for that. The Virginia Chamber also has their Blueprint Virginia 2030 regional tour, and our region is taking place on May 26th. We made this link for you to easily register for that if you're interested. So it's www.tinyurl.com/Virginia2030. And I will send that information out with the recording as well. Finally, the reason we're all here today, we have Brooke Quinn, the professional and university consultant with BB&T, now Truist, and Scott Waller, the financial advisor and managing director at Truist Wealth. This is an interactive Zoom, so please ask questions if you have them. We should also have time for a quick Q&A at the end, so feel free to send your questions in the chat. With that being said, I am happy to hand it over to Brooke.
Well, thank you so much, Maddie. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for joining. Thank you all, the Chamber, Young Professional Group, for allowing us to be here. We're super excited. So we'll start with just some quick introductions from Scott and myself, and then we'll dive right in. So as Maddie mentioned, I am the professional university banking consultant for BB&T, now Truist. My home office, which is actually right now my home, is in Rocky Mount, but I have been supporting Danville in Pennsylvania County for several years now. I've been with the bank for a little over 14 years and just absolutely love what I do, love to share financial knowledge and resources. I also love partnering with my teammates like Scott. So Scott, I'll go ahead and give you just a moment to introduce yourself and we'll dive in.
Thank y'all. I appreciate everyone joining today. I'm Scott Waller with Truist Wealth. I was very active in young professionals when I was young. I think I had hair, and the stress of this industry has gotten rid of that. I also apologize for the glare, and I'm happy to put on a hat if necessary, if some of your screens are whited out right now. I've been here 22 years. We specialize in wealth creation and management. We do not have minimums in our area because we believe we want to help everyone that wants help. Right, we're trying to grow Southern Virginia and each person's personal financial well-being, and so we don't have minimums here, and we're happy to work with you. Also on is Patrick Wales, who's a partner of mine, and much more in tune with young professionals these days than I am from an age perspective, but. We do have a team here of 3 financial advisors, 2 assistants here, and I also have an assistant in our Alexandria branch. So we deal with clients in 35 states. And so we believe that this opportunity is the type of thing where we see things that normally we would not see in a small market, right? We're seeing things from across the country, and then how can we implement those to help each individual that we work with? And so we partner with Brooke, and as well as our wealth team to make sure we can deliver everything from financial planning to investment recommendations and monitoring. So thanks for having us.
Great, thank you, Scott. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And again, this is interactive, so we want you all to be sure to use the chat to ask questions. We also are going to ask you all some questions, so definitely utilize that chat. You can also take yourself off mute, but it may just work a little bit better with the large group to use the chat function. So we are going to focus today on investing in retirement. So I'm going to do kind of a high-level retirement 101, share some resources, and then Scott, he's going to really do a deeper dive and talk about some of the topics more in specific, and then of course answer questions. And then really exciting, hang in there with us till the very end, because we will be doing a drawing for an Amazon e-gift card. So you do have to be on and present to win. So hang in there with us. We appreciate you all giving us about the next 50 minutes or so. So I wanted to start just with a fun question to get us all talking and thinking. So what is one thing that's on your bucket list? It could be an item that you want to own, a thing that you'd like to accomplish, a place that you would like to go. So go ahead and put in the chat for me. What is something that is on your bucket list? Okay, so far we've got some travelers. So Alaska, Hawaii, Lake House, Bora Bora, Kentucky Derby, we just passed that. Owning a farm, cruise, yeah. These are some really great answers. So while you all continue to share your answers, I wanted to share mine. So I really have two. I love Ocean Lakes. If you've never been, it's part of the Myrtle Beach area. So my goal is to own an Ocean Lakes house. My other goal is to travel to all of the states, all 50 states, not just fly through, stop over, but actually spend some time, really get to know, our country, the different parts. I've been everywhere from Maine to Florida out to Texas, but never really ventured further west. So that's something that I'd like to do. So a lot of you are right there with the traveling. I think we're all going to be on some of the same flights together as we travel the world. But what this really means is that we have these goals and things that we want to accomplish, and a lot of us understand that we have to sacrifice some things now so that when we're in retirement, like that's one of Sandra's goals I see, in retirement, we can accomplish a lot of these goals that we have. So to do that, it takes some planning, some preparation, and really having that early start. So just wanted to share with you that while we're talking today about investing in retirement, Truist has a lot more sessions and principles available. So what we've done, of course, Truist is the merger of BB&T and SunTrust together. And our purpose is to inspire and build better lives and communities. And this is one of the ways we do that. I would not have a job with Truist, or certainly not the job I have now, if they were not invested in giving back to our communities. And so we have these sessions available. I would love for you all to take a look at this screen. And if there's a session that jumps out at you and you say, wow, I have been thinking about buying a home, I'd love to learn more about that. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can share that with Christy, Alexis, Maddie, and say, hey, we'd love to have Truist come back and talk a little bit more about managing debt and credit score. So we are happy to come back. We look forward to coming back and sharing these sessions with you. But of course, today is the investing in retirement. So we're going to meet Veronica. So Veronica is 29 years old. She is single, and she is an entrepreneur in hospitality. She currently rents, but she wants to own. Most of her money goes into her daily living expenses, student loans, business costs, and insurance. Based on what we know about Veronica, do you all feel that she is preparing for a comfortable retirement? Go ahead and throw that in the chat for me. Do we think Veronica is going to have a good retirement and get to tour Europe and hang out with all of us in Hawaii? Yeah. Share with me some things that maybe are barriers for her or why she's not preparing. So what are some things that she's doing or not doing that are going to be barriers for her retirement? Yeah, student loans, no savings, renting versus owning. Yeah, so you guys are right. One of the things that stuck out the most to me was that most of her money goes into her daily living expenses. So I'm not sure what kind of, clothing habits, entertainment habits, what she's doing on the weekends. She is single, so maybe she's investing a lot of that money to try to find her a life partner, I don't know, right? But she's obviously doing something that's not focused on her retirement. So we've got to figure out, first and foremost, where Veronica's money is going. And that way we can better manage where we want it to go and focus on that. Many of you mentioned the student loan. So I think a lot of us will shake our heads when we say, yeah, I'm in that situation. I've got some student loans, or, hey, I had those. I worked hard. I paid those off. So her making that a priority. And then also, of course, she's got a business. So is she really, maximizing some of the business opportunities that are out there for her? Her insurance is a big expense. Has she received a quote lately to try to decrease that? She rents, but if she could get into a house that she owns and pay less for her mortgage than she does for her rent, she could really focus on retirement. So this just goes to show that there's some things that we have in our lives that can be barriers to retirement. We're going to give you some tools to help figure that out. So based on how you all want to live in retirement, how much money do you think that you would need to have invested in your retirement to live that lifestyle? So just throw in some random numbers for me. Kind of just give me your best guesstimate of how much you think you would need to have available when you retire in your retirement accounts. All right, I see $3,000 a month. Okay. There's no wrong answer. So just throw out there what you think. Think about those goals and dreams that you have, the expenses that you can anticipate. If you want to do early retirement, that might change that number. So share with me some numbers in here. Oops. All right, I'm going to give you a formula. So I want you to take your annual salary, and since we're young professionals, we can kind of be forward thinking and say, okay, I think that by the time I'm, well into my career, my salary is going to be this much. So whatever your salary is, I want you to multiply that by 80%, because they suggest that we will need 80% of our salary in retirement. And once you get that number, multiply that times 30. So that's 30 years. And most of us are probably coming up with a couple million, right? Yeah. So we anticipate that we'll need 80% of our salary every year for as long as we're alive after we retire, right? Now, that number might not be exact, because some of us, like Parker with that 5 million, maybe we want to have a little bit better retirement. Maybe you're someone that has no children, doesn't plan to have children. Maybe you're someone who's going to have 4 or 5 children, right? All of our scenarios look a little bit different. The other thing to think about is if you are married or plan to be married and your spouse's income is something that is needed to manage the household, you've got to do your cumulative family income, right? So if I make $50,000 when I'm single, I can pay all my bills. Suddenly I get married, have a family, and it takes 2 incomes making $100,000. I have to account for that spouse's income as well. So those numbers seem humongous, but we're going to share with you how it can be easy to reach that goal if you start early. And I have just 1 dog, and I know that expense with those dogs can be very high up there, Willie. So you might need to save even a little bit more in retirement for those puppy needs, right? So what types of accounts do we think that our retirement should go into? Should I put my retirement into my general savings account? What types of accounts do you think those retirement funds should go into? What are some accounts you've heard of? Okay, I see Roth, Invest, 401k, mutual funds. Okay. Yeah, so there's lots of options out there, and Scott is going to go into some specifics on the types of accounts and making sure that we're not putting all of our funds into one account and counting on that to prepare for retirement, right? We've got to do what they call diversify. And so Scott's going to talk about that in just a little while. So 10% is a good magic number. It's a great place to start when we think about retirement. So essentially, you want to get to where you are saving 10% of your income towards retirement. If you are not at 10% yet, that's okay. There's some things you can do to get there. If you're at 10%, that doesn't mean you can't go above and beyond, right? It's always better if you can save more. There are some tax advantages to things like retirement savings, but if you're not quite at 10%, here are some tips to think about. So first and foremost, if your employer offers a match on retirement, that should be the bare minimum that you start with. So if your employer says, we will match 3% of what you put into your 401k, dollar for dollar. So if you put in, $1, we're going to match that dollar for 3%. You want to do that minimal. And then, of course, work towards that 10%. So do not throw away free money. If your employer is willing to give you free money, take advantage of that. The second thing to kind of think about to help you get to that 10% is, like we talked about with Veronica, where is your money going? So going back to that foundation of looking at your budget and saying, what are some things that maybe I'm overspending in so that I can prioritize retirement? And we've got a really great example of why that's important. So we know our generations, young professionals, we're kind of the, YOLO, I want to enjoy the experience. I want to live in the now. We don't know what tomorrow looks like. But at the same time, we can still enjoy life today, but plan for tomorrow. The next thing to think about is your retirement that you put into your 401k or items that come out of your paycheck. Number one, it's automatic. So it's harder to miss that when your employer does that for you. And the second thing is that's pre-tax income. So that's going to actually lower those taxes that come out of your paycheck. So it's a lot harder to miss those extra few percents when your employer does it automatically and it comes out pre-tax. The next thing is, okay, let's say you're matching your employer's, you have your employer's match, you're doing that, you've looked at your budget, you say, well, I can increase a little bit, but I don't want to just jump from 3% to 10%. So a suggestion is, if you get an annual raise, take that annual raise and apply it to your 401k, or even do it in half. So if you get a 2% raise this year, you can put that full 2% back into your 401k, or even split that in half and say, I'm going to do an extra 1%. So you can treat it like a stair step where you slowly, maybe every 6 months, go in and increase that 401k or increase that retirement. And eventually you're not really going to notice because you learn to accommodate your budget and lifestyle around those deductions that already come out. So again, 10% is kind of that magic number. It's that number we want to get to. It doesn't mean you stop there. And it doesn't mean if you're not there to get discouraged. It just means to work towards getting to that 10% number. So a couple recaps. So number one, of course, we just talked about getting 10% of your income set aside for retirement. Some of you may be in the phase where you need to do a little bit of catch up. So maybe you're a little bit older on the young professional side. Maybe you're in your 30s, getting ready to turn 40 and you haven't started yet. You might want to do some catch up contributions to make up for not putting those funds away earlier. But again, work towards that 10%. The second piece we touched on as well. So using tax advantage vehicles like 401ks, IRAs, avoid those early withdrawals and loans against your retirement. Not only will you have to pay taxes and penalties, but a true story of someone I know, they did a withdrawal. So they had to pay that penalty and taxes. And then that withdrawal actually increased their income and put them in the next tax bracket. So when they filed taxes at the end of the year, they ended up owing taxes because of that withdrawal. So just be aware of the consequences of withdrawing. And Scott's going to, again, share some really great information on how time has a huge impact on how much your retirement can grow. The next step, diversify. It's really important not just to think about different asset types, but different industries, and Scott will touch on that. And then lastly, you want to get advice from an experienced financial advisor, preferably certified financial planner. We all love our friends and family, but most likely, their investment advice is not going to necessarily equate to someone like Scott, right? You want to make sure that who you're getting your advice from is certified. So the next piece I want to share some additional tools and resources, but we want you to know that regardless of where you do your banking, our team is here to help and support you. So we want to help by being a partner for you. We want to help you develop a personalized financial plan and then encourage you to take action. So I'll make sure everyone has my email by the end of the call. But of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to Maddie. She can connect you with me as well. I'm happy to be there to support you, answer questions. Scott's the same. We're here to help. We want to sit down, have those conversations with you. And we also have a way you can do that virtually as well that I'll share. So this next piece is going to actually go out to some of our sites with the tools and resources. So some of you may be on your phones, but if you're not and you have your phone handy, what I'd like for you to do is tell me in the chat, are you team iPhone or team Android? And I'm an iPhone girl, so I'll be the first to admit I've got my iPhone. Okay. Well, we've got a good mix here. My husband's really mad that I made him convert from Android to iPhone. He picks on me all the time how Androids had features years before iPhone, but that's okay. I still love my iPhone. So we got a BlackBerry. Okay. So iPhone, but going back, I like that, Dominic. So if you all are on your phones, that's fine. You'll get access to all this information. Of course, it's being recorded. But if you're not on your phone and you want to scan that QR code, you just open up your camera function, hover it over that QR code, and it's going to take you out to our site. And I'm going to show you that as well. We're also, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat for you so you can access it that way as well. And then it's also up on the screen. So it's bbt.com. Oops. Let me make sure I give it to you correctly. bbt.com/@work-wellness, as you see here. The specific code for the Young Professionals group is here, 105431. We've got some additional sites as well listed, but I'm going to show you those. So I'll go ahead and jump out to our portal. So you let me know if you all can see that okay, whether thumbs up, yes in the chat. Okay, I see some heads shaking. So this is our employee young professional financial wellness portal. So a couple things that I'm going to go over here. First and foremost, we do want to extend the invitation for those of you that do not bank with BB&T now Truist to get to know what we offer, to see what those benefits look like, and then of course to follow up and ask us any questions. So we do have a best-in-class preferred checking account package. You get things like free cashier's checks, free money orders, free safe deposit box. You also get to use any BB&T ATM, any SunTrust ATM, and then 4 times a month you get an additional withdrawal from a non-BB&T, non-SunTrust, and we don't charge you a fee. You can do a secondary checking account for free. So if you do have a spouse or want one for spending, one for savings, as well as the free savings account. If you already bank with us and maybe you have a new job, changed jobs, or haven't let us know that you work for one of our local employers, I encourage you to reach out to your local branches or send me an email, because you may qualify for this account and don't realize that you're not getting those benefits. So we definitely want to take care of the clients we have. And encourage any of you that would like to become part of the family. You can just click on that Get Started, and it walks you through the process, as well as coming by our local branch or sending me an email. So we definitely open and extend that invitation. As young professionals, much like myself, I love technology, and our app is absolutely phenomenal. So a couple of things that you can do from the app that will help you when thinking about retiring and investing. The first piece is we talked about the fundamentals of budgeting. So in order to budget yourself to save for retirement, you have to start by figuring out what you want to spend and what you're actually spending. And so we actually do a budget through your app, and then we track your expenses to help you figure out, are you sticking to that budget? So it really helps you to be able to see that visual, to see that pie chart, and then it takes the work off of you. So I don't have to go in with an Excel spreadsheet or balance my checkbook. I haven't done that in probably 10, 15 years. The app does it for me. So I really love the fact that we have the digital budgeting and tracker. You can also upload your outside accounts. So if you do have retirement somewhere that you can access through online banking with that company, you can upload that into your app and view that retirement account and watch it grow. So most days I love looking at my retirement account, but Scott will talk about there's some days that we don't necessarily like to see when that dip happens, but that's okay because we usually see it bounce back and get where it needs to be. But you can actually view and see that. Some other cool features, you get your banker through the app, your credit score. We use Zelle for transfers and cash back on purchases. So again, just a really great tool there for those of you that do bank with us or choose to do so. Now, everyone, regardless of your banking relationship, we wanted to offer that financial checkup that we talked about. So again, you can email me, you can get in touch with Scott, your local branch team, or you can do a specialist conversation here. This one is specifically for retirement. So if you have some general banking needs or questions on lending or credit, you can use this section here, and this middle one is specifically for retirement. And again, no banking relationship required to have those conversations. This last feature we're actually going to go out and look at. It's our financial foundations, and this is where you get some additional educational tools and resources. So when you click on that Get Started, it's going to open this page here. Give me like a show of hands or give me a head nod, put in the chat. Do any of you like Spotify? Is that your preferred music app? Yeah, I don't use like Apple Music or anything else like that. I really like Spotify, and I really like it because for the longest time, it customizes music to fit you. Like I love seeing, based on my music preference, here are some playlists that we suggest, right? So it gets to know you. So our system works the same way. So we have some general playlists, like if you want to learn about the basics of finances, investing in your future, owning a home. But I love this personalized playlist because all you do is you answer 4 questions. And based on those answers, the system suggests some modules that might work for you. So if you're not interested in owning a home, we're not going to clutter up your playlist with owning a home, right? It's all based on what is relevant to you. So if nothing else, I want to suggest you all go in and explore this personalized playlist. And then we also have some additional sessions down here. So building financial resilience, and then financial wellness during uncertain times. I know we kind of feel like COVID, we've been in this for, over a year, but maybe, someone that has experienced those uncertain times. So this is great information to share. But we are actually going to look at the preparing for retirement because that's what we're talking about today. So if you click on Explore, it's going to open up these sessions here. So I'm not going to dive into these because I want to give Scott plenty of time to answer questions and do a deep dive. But this is great for you all to be able to come back to and say, you know what, I want to learn more about 401ks specifically, or I want to learn more about those IRAs specifically. Most of these are 5 to 6 minutes long, so it's not very long sessions. Some of them have videos, audios. Most of them are kind of just read and learn, but it's great to follow back up and take these sessions. Now I'm going to go out to our Truist.com site and share with you our money and mindset. So when you go to Truist.com, under our purpose, you're going to see this money and mindset. And with that, you get to pick different categories. So for today's purpose, we're going to look at investing in your values. And then there are some articles and some calculators. So this is a great, again, a follow-up, when to sell stocks, 7 tips for hitting retirement. There's a calculator, advice from real retirees. So this is another great site that I would suggest you all come back out to, and not just limit it to retirement. So if you're looking about, thinking about how your money and your emotions connect, budgeting, debt, there's some really great extra resources here. Last thing I want to touch on, which I'm sure Scott can go into more detail, is we have 2 sites that are focused on cryptocurrency. So we know that's kind of the hot topic of the day. So tell us in the chat if you have purchased, if you're comfortable, if you've purchased cryptocurrency so far yet with this hot trend we have going on. And if you want to share what you've purchased, again, okay, we got some no's. Okay. Yeah, I haven't ventured to that yet. My husband, he's been on the fence about it. He's a little bit more adventurous than me. But so far we haven't, but we see a lot of people on Facebook that have, and kind of like Candy, it's always good to know a little bit more. So if you make that choice, you can make that informed decision. So this is from NerdWallet. It's just a little bit about what to know about cryptocurrency, what it is, and essentially you can't touch it. It's not tangible. It's really just an idea. It's data. So it can be a little tough to wrap your mind around cryptocurrency. There are a lot of different cryptocurrencies and as far as their value. So if you look here, the number one that we hear about is Bitcoin. Although I guess Dogcoin right now is also taken off, and that's a big name we hear, but 1.2 trillion at the time of this article versus the others you see are nowhere near that. So Bitcoin definitely has a huge piece of the market. It talks about why they're popular. Are they good investments? How do you buy it? Are they legal? So yes, they're legal in the US. There are some places that have banned them, like China. But one thing to really consider is not every business company will accept cryptocurrencies, right? So you have to figure out, once I have them and I bought them, how would I use them if I wanted to? So that's something to definitely do some research on. And then how to protect yourself. Again, should you buy it? So this is NerdWallet. And then this one is from Business Insider. Kind of same thing, just a different take on it. So again, it's not a physical digital form of money. It's a non-physical digital form of money. The biggest difference is it's not issued by the government. It's not, housed by a central banking system. And essentially, when we think of crypto, most of us probably thought like, okay, that's really shady. That's what money launderers are using. That's how the dark web is working, but it's not necessarily the case. Even PayPal now is considering allowing crypto. So it's growing, but it's still not something that has yet kind of crossed that threshold. So before I switch to Scott to give him an opportunity to share some additional resources, we have some great visuals, touch base on anything else. Did anybody want me to go back over anything we've talked about so far, or ask a question specific to cryptocurrency before we move forward? Okay, well, you all have plenty of time to ask questions. So Scott, I'm going to turn it to you, and I do have all of our PDFs up. So if you'd like for me to have any of those prepared, or if you want to share your screen, I'm comfortable with that, but I'll go ahead and turn it to you.
Well, I know in our previous one, and thank you very much, Brooke. That's an excellent job. If you want to pull up the periodic table, which I think is a good place to start in general on diversification. So if you can notice that these are each type of investment. So just to pick one, the best performer in 2007 was emerging markets. If you can see that, it did 39%. And so usually an investor would come along in January of 2008, let's say, and make a deposit to their Roth IRA, a traditional IRA. And they look at the track record and they say, I better buy emerging markets. It's what's hot. Well, look what it did in 08, right? Minus 53%. So the 39 you picked up the previous year was not that meaningful anymore. So the idea is chasing last year's winners is a great way to lose money. Right. So you really want to think of these worst performers at the bottom of this and the best performers at the top. And you kind of want to drive down the middle of the road. It's okay to take extra risk when you're young and you've got time to make up. But you can't think of investing as winning the lottery. Right. It's a process. It's the long haul. And then you want the flexibility to be able to handle things that come in life. And we keep it simple. The KISS method of money is 3 colors. Green is your go money. That's your food, your rent, mortgage, etc. Yellow is an intermediate term expense. So something you're going to save for, whether that's a college education for a child, down payment on a home. And then red is retirement. You never want to mix your colors. You don't want to take retirement money, because if you take 401k or IRA money prior to 59 and a half, you pay state, federal, and a 10% penalty. You can get a better deal with a bookie, right? So don't even think about taking that money. It's just not prudent financial advice to do that. So anyway, on this slide, the main thing is the diversification. You need to stay up the middle of the road and don't chase last year's winners. Diversification in styles and types. You want all of your sectors covered, right? You want pharmaceuticals and cyclicals, and you want growth and income. We don't lean for young folks right now to be heavily in bonds, right? You can lose money in bonds just like you can in stocks. But bond prices are high because rates are low. It's like a seesaw, right? So as rates rise, bond prices fall. So we would rather see you have growth-oriented type companies, stocks, equity, dividend companies, but not bonds. I'd rather you have cash and stocks than stocks and bonds. That way, when there's a pullback in the market, you've got dry powder. You can average in. You can put money to work on the bad days. Buying the dips has been a strategy that a lot of folks have used in the past. So there's a diversification between asset class, and then there's a diversification between account type. And Brooke talked about that. So if you're working for a company that provides a 401k plan, you certainly want to participate in the plan to the degree that they match. So let's say it's dollar for dollar up to 4% or something like that. Then you certainly want to do the 4% to get your free 4% money. So now you've covered 8 of the 12 if you want to think of it that way. The next up to $6,000 that you may want to put away for retirement, you may want to do in a Roth. So what we're doing is creating multiple buckets of money. So when you need money out, there's different tax consequences for which bucket you pull the money out of. So after 59.5, 401ks, IRAs, and Roths open up to no penalties. The benefit of the Roth, right? It's post-tax dollars. So it's spending money going in. It's tax-free coming out after age 59.5. A traditional IRA, if you make a contribution to it, you deduct that from your taxes now, reducing your income. But when you take it out, you're going to pay taxes. So with all that's going on in the world, and this is not a political commentary, but most likely we're going to have higher tax rates coming. So the more you can defer or get tax-free while you're at a lower tax bracket, the more money you'll have later on. A site that I think is great is if you Google the latte factor calculator, and the first one that pops up is financialmentor.com. And you can put in what you spend. I think this is really key for now. Like if you go by Starbucks and there's all these folks sitting around on their iPads drinking big, fat-filled, frothy lattes. But if I just put in $5 a day, and you're gonna do that every day, if you made 8% on that money, and you did it for a 46-year working career. So if you started working at 21 and you retire at 67, your regular retirement age, that's 46 years of money at $5. $5 is nothing to a billionaire. $5 is nothing to poverty line. It's just $5. That's $83,904, $5 at a time. The foregone earnings over your career is $786,261. And if you look at total capture, $870,165 that you spend on coffee or cigarettes, right? I mean, it's a $5 thing. So a great way to save is to take that smaller amount of money and put it away on a regular basis in whatever type of an account. You can build up regular checking and savings accounts and then fund Roths or traditional IRAs. If you have additional money that you want to invest, then you would look at a regular brokerage account. That's taxable. So if we make money each year, we're going to owe the tax on that. But that's the liquid money. You can borrow against that money. If you have an emergency, you can take that money without penalty. You can use that as your intermediate term expense where I'm going to grow my money and then I'm going to put a down payment on a house or a car. So all of that factors in to what you may use out of the regular brokerage account. So then in retirement, sorry, my light goes off automatically. We're trying to be green. When you have a need, you have different buckets and you can pick the most tax efficient way to get those assets out of the bucket. So that was my the basics in diversification and types of accounts and also types of stocks. And Brooke, we're certainly happy to open it up. And then also, I would like to mention, Patrick, if you have any comments, feel free to jump in and make them now. But we're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up a couple other things, and I don't know if you plan to get to this, Scott, but definitely wanted to show the impact of starting now. So this is our 10-step to financial freedom, and I want to go to the second page. And Scott, if you can speak to this for us for just a minute, the impact of starting early.
It really is amazing. I started when I was 18 years old at $27 a month. I had a friend that went to Mass Mutual. It was a life insurance type policy. It was $27 a month. I started at 18. I finished it when I was 36 years old. That's when it maxed out. That's now 80 grand. So from 18 to 36, $27 a month, it wasn't even a tank of gas. And now that's 80 grand. So obviously the earlier, the better. So this scenario one shows if you put away the 3,000 from age 19 to 26 and then stopped, you can see the power of that money growing. So $24,000 invested comes out to 960, almost $1 million. Then fast forward to someone that started at 27 years old and put the money away from the time they were 27 to 60. So they put 102 in, and now it's worth 810. Better to start. It's never too late, but you can obviously see here the difference in compounding and starting early and letting money grow. So you can only imagine if the person in scenario one had continued their $3,000 a year, what that number might be. So pretty powerful numbers.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I believe this page also goes over something similar. So again, just another scenario for you all to think about. That $10,000 a year, the 100,000 gets you 1.8 million versus that 300,000 if you wait, only gets you 1 million. So the importance of starting early, again, that 10% or 12%, like Scott said, the $3,000 that they put away, it might seem like a lot in the moment, but when you think about that retirement lifestyle that we want to have, being able to go on those trips that we said, being able to purchase those things like the lake houses, it really does take that investment now to be able to achieve those goals later. And I don't like everything that Dave Ramsey says, but he says something to the effect of live like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. And I really think that that's a huge piece of advice. So I'm going to go ahead and draw for our gift card, but I want to still give you all, we've got about 15 minutes. I want to give you all opportunities to ask questions. We can go back over and look at any of the documents that we pulled up, explain something a little bit different or better, but this is your time. We definitely want you all to have access to those of us that are on the call that want to help and support and make things clear. But I'm going to go ahead and pop back out here. So Maddie, I believe that you had a count for me of how many participants that we had on the call today.
Yes, we had 50 people today.
Okay, great. I'm going to let Siri be the bad guy so that I don't have to make Scott, Maddie, myself, Christy. We get to be free. So if you don't win, it's Siri's fault. Choose a random number between 1 and 50. All right, number 39 is our lucky winner. So Maddie's going to get the count for me of who is number 39. And I have put my email in the chat. So for those of you that have questions, want to follow up, let me know. And then, of course, our winner, I'll explain how to claim your prize. So lucky number 39.
I have Maggie as number 39 on the list.
Congratulations, Maggie. So we have a $10 Amazon e-gift card. So if you will send me an email to the email I put in the chat, whichever email you want that card to go, I will send out that code to you by the end of the day today. So congratulations. And then last thing that I'd like for you all to do before we open it up is we want to definitely give you an opportunity to, number one, if you have a question, we want to see that question. if you don't have a question, if you would let us know something that really stuck out to you today. What is something that you really liked or you learned, or maybe you wish that you had known 5 years ago when you started in your career? So go ahead in the chat for us. Share either your question, something that you liked, you learned. So we'd love to see that feedback from you all. Okay, yeah. So salary equation, yeah, it's kind of mind blowing to think that you'll need 80% of that salary in retirement. You know, how much you'll need, the fact that you should be at 10%. I will share one of my favorite things about doing this presentation, is the fact that I may not have started at age 18, 19 like that individual, but if I can make that impact to help somebody else start saving earlier, I'm like Holly, I wish that I had had this conversation at my first job and started that earlier, but that's okay. You're armed with the knowledge now to start making those, changes and choices to say, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice a little bit today so that I can have a good and full retirement. I did want to take just a second to go back out to show you this chart because I like this too. One of the things we talk about with investing that Scott can probably touch base on, or Patrick, is you don't want to invest emotionally. So for example, we see here traditionally, this is from the inception of the stock market, we've got some dips and things along the way, but as you notice, it seems to recover, right? So even some of our worst dips in history, those things do recover. So that's why I pay a fee to have someone like Scott, a company or a person to manage my investments, because I don't want to have that panic attack when I start seeing stuff in the news. And I'm sure, Scott, you can share, a lot of our clients that we work with, they get in this panic mode because the emotion takes over. It's their money, it's their life savings. So if you don't mind, just maybe take just a minute or two to kind of speak to that and share, the peaks, the valleys, when to buy, when to sell.
Thanks, bro. There's two kind of concepts. I mean, dollar cost averaging is very important. That's what you're doing in a 401k, right? You're doing a regular amount of money over a regular period of time. So every paycheck you're investing, regardless of where the market is that day. Sometimes you're going to pay a little more, sometimes you're going to pay a little less, but you're putting the money away for it to grow over time. What we also do is, as I mentioned earlier in buying the dips, if you have a regular amount of money, and if you had a regular brokerage account, for the most part, $1,000 initial investment minimum is what most mutual fund companies require. And subsequent investments can be as little as $50. So a lot of times, like someone young starting out, they put $1,000 or a couple $1,000 in, set up an auto draft from their checking at $50 a month, knowing that they are going to continue to invest. If there's a big pullback in the market, like we saw, in 08 and 10, March 09 was the low of the market. You can always do a little extra then. Instead of doing 50 that month, you may want to put 200 or 250 or 1,000 or whatever it may be. But you want to continue to average in regardless of what the market is doing, and know when the market is down that you're buying more shares. You can be buying twice the shares for half the price.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. So again, Maddie has all the resources here on the website. So we encourage you to take some time on your own to go back through. I know it's a lot to digest. It can be a complex topic, but hopefully we were able to help break it down. I think from the feedback, I think we did a good job of doing that, but there can always be more conversations because everybody's situation is unique. So again, Scott put an offer, to do a life and financial plan. I would love to have the conversation about general banking, anything that you can think of, from budgeting to credit, savings, everything in between. That's what we're here for. So I don't know, Scott, if you have any other closing remarks, or if Patrick's on and has anything that he would like to add before we turn it back to Maddie.
Sure. I'd love for Patrick to close it out, but the offer we made is everything is completely confidential, and it's in most times this being able to have a conversation, to sit down, to talk about goals in a confidential environment, and to determine how much you can afford to put away without dramatically reducing your lifestyle now. It doesn't take much if you start early. And so I'll leave it with that and see if Patrick has any comments to close.
Yeah, no, really nice job. I think everybody covered the highlights. And I guess that I would just say we do want to help people, and we're in this to see positive outcomes and success stories. And so kind of our tagline in this office is plan well, invest wisely, and live fully. So we really do want to tie your money to your life, and those big dream ideas, those things that maybe at this point in our careers seem really far off, start developing a plan for how you can actually get there. We don't ever want anybody to save and invest just for the sake of saving and investing, because life happens, and tying your life to your money helps you achieve those objectives. So I will kick it back with that. I would just encourage everybody, please use us as a resource. And Brooke, Truist Wealth has some phenomenal resources that are available at some level to everybody, but certainly with the benefits Brooke covered to clients, both existing and new clients. And I would just leave with look, consider planning well, investing wisely so that you can live fully. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Scott, one last thing I wanted to share. I didn't go over this, but we do have a retirement planning checklist. So thinking about your needs, your wants, your wishes, what to do before you meet with your advisor, what to do, what things to discuss with the advisor. And then I really like down here the different chapters in retirement. So before, the early years, mid years, late years. So this is another great document that of course Maddie has access to, but just some things to think about when you do decide to meet with that advisor, like Scott, Patrick, have those conversations around retirement. This gives you kind of a good base to start with. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share everything with you all. And of course, Maddie and Christy, Alexis, everybody at the Chamber Young Professionals Group, thank you. So I'll turn it back to you. I don't know if we want to do one last call for questions, but we certainly appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We do have a couple extra minutes if anybody wants to unmute and ask any final questions, or you could put it in the chat to any of us.
And if you don't necessarily want to be public about your question, you can change that messaging to one of us privately, and we can make sure we answer that without, or you answer that without calling you out.
Mm-hmm. I will also provide their contact information in the follow-up email. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out to them individually, that works as well. So thank you all so much for attending today. I will have the recording over for you to access, as well as all of the resources they talked about. And we will see you next time. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.